What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. The Pittsburgh Steelers are cutting down their roster as I'm recording this on a Monday. Tomorrow, the Steelers will be cutting their roster down to 53 into their final roster, and every year I do a prediction video for who I think is going to be on the roster, who is not going to make the roster, who could be on the practice squad, and position rankings and battles as far as who is in the depth chart where. So Pittsburgh had a really good preseason overall. Looked really good. Won their first 3 games pretty convincingly. Looked good in the first 3 games. Last game was kind of a third stringers and beyond game, and they didn't play well at all. The depth really showed. The lack of depth, I should say, really showed as Panthers destroyed them. So Pittsburgh finishes the preseason at 3-1. Looks really good doing so. The only time these starters played at all was the third game when Ben and the first team came out and looked really good on 2 consecutive scoring drives. So overall, lots to be hopeful for, but I want to go through position by position and break down exactly where this team's going to wind up, kind of who makes the roster and who doesn't. So I want to start at quarterback. Basically, it's going to wind up being chalk at quarterback. It's going to be the 3 you expected, obviously. Big Ben at number 1. He's the franchise guy. Mason Rudolph at number 2, and Dwayne Haskins at number 3. I think Haskins is the better quarterback. I've pushed for him to be the number 2 guy the entire time, but he's been playing with the third team guys the whole time, and playing backup when Ben's not playing. So with his last performance in the final game against Carolina, he didn't do himself any favors. I still think he overall reads defenses and has more athleticism better so than Mason Rudolph. But the way it's going to play out is Ben, then Rudolph, then Haskins. Josh Dobbs is going to be the odd man out. He could be a practice squad guy, but I could see him going and being a third stringer somewhere else. Good quarterback, but he didn't show the progression this year that he has in previous years. So we got our 3 guys. Running backs, there's been a lot of debate about do the Steelers keep 4 running backs. They usually don't. They're going to keep 4 overall backs, in my opinion, 3 running backs and 1 fullback. So there's been a lot of talk because we have 5 guys that are in this system and have looked good in different years. I think we're keeping 3. Here's where the first big cuts come in at. Obviously, Najee Harris is our franchise guy, the first-round rookie who's looked very good. Very good. He's going to be the one of the biggest changes for our offense this year. Anthony Mcfarland at number 2. He hasn't really shown us exactly what he can do yet. He's shown brief flashes. Didn't do much in year 1, but he had a couple of good moments in preseason. He's a Matt Canada guy. He played with Matt Canada in college. This kind of more spread out, kind of bunch open up, motion style offense that Canada runs fits the scat style back. Mcfarland, the speedy, find a hole and just go kind of style that he has. So Harris is 1. Mcfarland is the scat back number 2. Excuse my breathing. It's hot out here. And the number 3 is Kalen Ballage, the big surprise veteran signing from the Los Angeles Chargers, who came and joined this team as a veteran. He's looked really good in preseason. He's broken a lot of tackles. He's run very hard. He has been kind of the archetype of what the Steelers have wanted Benny Snell to be in previous years. So Kalen Ballage, in my opinion, coupled with the fact that Benny Snell has been injured the entire preseason up until the last game, coupled for the fact that Kalen Ballage makes this roster as number 3. Again, he's a veteran guy. He can catch a little bit. He breaks tackles. He runs hard. He's good for short distances. He fills that Benny Snell role, and although he's a few years older, he did more in this preseason than Snell's done in a while, and Snell didn't get a chance to play this preseason until the last Carolina game, in which he didn't look very good. He broke off one first down run that was like 12 or 13 yards, but other than that, he didn't do anything in the one chance that he got because he was hurt. So Ballage is the number 3 here. That leaves, in my opinion, Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels out in the cold, the number 2 and 3 guys who started a lot over the past couple years with James Conner being injured all the time. Those guys started quite a bit. Snell's got several 100-yard games for us in his career, and I think they both go. I think, Conner is now a Cardinal. I think Snell and Samuels go somewhere else and play for another team this year. They're both worthy of playing somewhere else, but they're not a system fit here anymore in Pittsburgh. Samuels has had his moments. He had a decent preseason. He's been a good pass-catching back. Snell's had a few 100-yard games in spot starts. He's been a decent running back from time to time, but he hasn't always stayed on the field, and he hasn't always produced. So I think Snell and Samuels are gone. Fullback Derek Watt beats out Tremaine Edmonds, maybe? I'm trying to think of the Edmonds brother that was vying for the fullback spot, but Edmonds is cut, and Derek Watt is the fullback here. Wide receivers, we keep 5. We're going chalk here. Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, James Washington, Ray McLeod. McLeod, in my opinion, did enough. I know he's had his drops at his moments at receiver that didn't shine, but he's a fast return guy. He's broken things open last year. He did make a few nice catches when he played. He's good for the end-around stuff. He very much fits the Matt Canada system. He does a lot of motion, catches short swing passes, breaks tackles. I like McLeod as the 5. Several guys played decent in preseason. Could be practice squad guys, namely Anthony Johnson, who caught a touchdown, Rico Bussey, Cody White I liked a lot because he blocked and he caught some balls when he was healthy. Those 3 guys could be practice squad guys down the road, or could play somewhere else, but they don't make the roster here. So McLeod gets the 5th slash returner spot, and the other 4 obviously are the guys we've had for a while that are very talented. So tight ends, we're keeping 3. Here's where I would make a little slight change. Eric Ebron, number 1. Pat Freiermuth, the rookie, number 2. Zach Gentry, number 3. I would start Freiermuth at number 1. He looked really good as one of the camp phenoms. And he's obviously already vibed with Ben quite a bit. When the 2 series that Ben was in, he caught the 2 touchdowns from Ben. Ben loves this guy. Ben's going to fit in with Freiermuth very well. He's a hard-nosed physical guy. He's great for goal line situations. He catches everything. He's a big target. Ebron is a very athletic matchup nightmare who could really cause other defenses for us some problems with Ebron and Freiermuth doing 2 tight end sets because Ebron's a very good athlete. And as long as he catches the ball, he's great. But he drops so much, and he's dropped a lot this preseason. In my opinion, I would put Freiermuth at the number 1 spot and Ebron at the 2, and I would still play both of them quite a bit, but I wouldn't cut Ebron or anything. I wouldn't bench Ebron. I'd still play Ebron at the 2nd tight end spot, but I think the way it's going to play out is Ebron goes 1, Freiermuth goes 2, and then we wind up going to Zach Gentry at the 3. Zach Gentry hasn't shown any growth or anything, but neither really has Kevin Rader. They're kind of the same thing. Gentry's been a big project guy, big tall project guy who drops a lot and is not very mobile. So he's going to be the 3 for this team, but he's in his last year, I believe, and it's probably going to be his last year. He's shown no real depth or anything. He's not going to grow at all for us, but he's here by proxy. I've got 9 offensive linemen on this team. It could easily wind up being 10, but I've seen a lot of people call 9 linemen. And it's not going to be exactly the 9 you think it is from all the other Steeler roster reviews. The starters are at tackle Chukwueze Okorafor, at guard Trey Turner, at center Kendrick Green, at guard Dotson, and at tackle Zach Banner. I would make one change to that, and it probably will happen sooner or later. I would put Dan Moore Jr. in for Chukwueze Okorafor. I think Dan Moore's been one of the best camp standouts. I think he had a good preseason. I've not been a fan of Chukwueze Okorafor so far. In the entire time that I've seen him, Chooks has not shown me much of anything. But they're going to wind up starting Chooks because Dan Moore is a draft pick. He's a rookie, so they usually go with the veteran guys they can trust before that. But either way, those 5 are going to be your starter, and those 5 are going to make the team. I have 4 backup linemen. Here I have Dan Moore at guard. I have J.C. Hassenauer at center. And I have B.J. Finney at guard/center. And then I also have Rashawn Coward. All the other reviews that I've seen have kept 9 guys, and they've kept Joe Haig at tackle, and they've cut Rashawn Coward. I've kept Rashawn Coward at guard and cut Joe Haig personally. But I could see Joe Haig being the one to make it. I'm just making a little change here because to me, Rashawn Coward, when he was starting for Dotson, whenever Tomlin was trying to teach Dotson a lesson, he was starting Rashawn Coward, and Coward played really well. I like Coward in camp, and I like Coward a lot in the games. I think he's a good, valuable backup guard. So overall, I think Coward winds up helping us quite a bit. On the bench, he's a veteran guy who started some games in Chicago, and I think he played pretty well here in preseason when he started. So that's the way that I would go if we're keeping 9 guys. We still got Dan Moore at tackle. We still got Finney who could play guard or center, and we got Hassenauer. So we have multiple spots at each place. And I love our bench guys for depth, but the starters still, again, Chukwueze Okorafor, I wouldn't start. I'm not liking what I see out of him. And Zach Banner has not played much. He's been hurt, and he hasn't really got to show us much. So I'm a little worried about line. If there's going to be one offensive position that really gives us trouble this year that could be an issue for us, it's going to be offensive line. God forbid we get somebody important hurt because the line doesn't block well. So overall, the offense looks good. The line is my one place where I'm a little concerned about the starters. Defensively, I had to make a few changes. Defensive line, I kept 7 guys total. Basically, when I was doing my first pass of this and I was getting all my guys ready, I had 51 spots filled out. I had 2 spots open. And I went, I saved all the guys that I really had to save. And I still left 2 open spots somehow by accident. So I wound up going back and being able to pick 2 extra guys that I wasn't going to initially keep. And I will tell you who they are. Defensive line-wise, the starters, obviously Cam Hayward at defensive end, Tyson Alualu at D tackle, Stephon Tuitt at defensive end. Those are your 3 starters, obviously. They're all Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl-worthy guys. Backups, you have Isaiah Loudermilk, the rookie, who I think has looked really good in pass rushing. He's been stuffing the lineup pretty well. He's gotten quarterback pressure. I've liked Loudermilk way more than I thought coming out of the draft. Good pickup there. He's played very well. Chris Wormley, who's been the spot starter for us on the other side of the backup D-line. He was the trade from Baltimore. He gets his hands up in the passing lanes. He deflects a lot of balls. He gets some decent run stops. And I had to pick one of the 2 here. There's 3 guys going for the third backup spot here for the 6th lineman. Isaiah Buggs was my first pick. I like what Buggs did in preseason. He played pretty well in the Carolina game. I think he slightly outplayed both Carlos Davis and Henry Mondo. So if it was between Buggs, Davis, and Mondo, I was going to keep Isaiah Buggs as my 6th D lineman. I had 6 initially. And then I saw that I had an extra spot open, so I figured, okay, I'll keep 7. I'll keep Carlos Davis as well. Because Carlos Davis, while he hasn't shown us too much, he's played about on par with Buggs in the past. Which still leaves Henry Mondo out in the cold. So I say we keep 7 linemen. Hayward, Alualu, Tuitt, Loudermilk, Wormley, and Buggs, and Davis, those 7. And Henry Mondo is cut. Outside linebackers, I keep 5. That is T.J. Watt, obviously starting on one side. Alex Highsmith, who's looked amazing, starting at the other side. I think he can be what Bud Dupree was for us last year. Last year, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, Watt and Highsmith getting a lot of pressure. Man, those guys look great. Melvin Ingram from the Chargers, who we signed, he's gotten a lot of pressure. When he's played, he's looked like a very good depth piece. We could easily have one of the best 1-2-3 outside linebacker combos in the league this year. I love Watt, Highsmith, and Ingram. For the 2 backup outside linebackers, Quincy Rochet, who I've liked a lot. I've seen a lot of rosters cut him. I've seen a lot of guys not keep him. I'm a huge fan of his. I like him a lot. I think he was a steal for the 5th or 6th round we got him in. He's gotten a couple sacks on QBs this year. He's gotten a few running back stops. I like Rochet. And also, I found a spot for my guy, Jamir Jones. Jamir Jones had the strongest preseason. He had a good camp overall. Preseason-wise, he has had the most tackles of anybody in the league on defense this year with 8 tackles. He's gotten 2.5 or 3.5 sacks in 4 games. He's gotten multiple QB pressures in all 4 games this season. He's gotten at least 1 tackle for a loss in all 4 games this season. And he's tackling on special teams. He's not just making plays on defense in the running and passing game, but he's making tackles on special teams. 8 tackles this year, leading the league for overall defense. I love Jamir Jones. I love what he's done. He is worth a spot on this roster. If there's been one guy who we didn't expect to make it, who got a spot on this roster, it's Jamir Jones. Which means that if I keep those 5 guys, that means one major guy is out, and that's Cassius Marsh. I know Marsh has played as a backup guy for us in the past. He's played pretty well. He's even had to start at times for injuries, and he's made a few plays, but those few plays that he make are not kind of making up for the other plays that he doesn't make. He's not terribly effective. He'll get a play here and there, but he's not worth keeping, in my opinion. Obviously we have the 3 guys in place, but Rochet, again, was a draft pick who's a steal, who I think is worth potentially being a starter at some point. I like Rochet a lot. And again, Jamir Jones has balled out this preseason. You got to reward that guy. He is the Tuzar skipper of this season. Tuzar skipper was a 2019 phenom who got on this roster 2 different times during that season. I think Jamir Jones has earned it. I think Cassius Marsh is out. Inside linebacker, I'm also keeping 5. I finagled this again. I had an open spot, and I found a way to keep 5 on this team. And I'm going to do such in a way that's going to be kind of cheating, but I found a good way to do this. So listen to this. The 2 starters, obviously, are Devin Bush and Joe Schobert. Bush back off injury, Schobert from Jacksonville in the trade. Love those guys. Hope they can cover. The inside linebackers have been our biggest spot on defense that has worried me. There's 2 spots on defense I'm concerned about. This is one of them, but Bush off injury and Schobert back is going to be an upgrade for us this year than from what it was last year. Robert Spillane at the 3. That's controversial. I mean, I think Spillane's done enough, obviously, to stay on the team because he's a very good downhill run stopper and he's a good quarterback pressure guy, but his coverage is a liability. He's one of the worst inside linebacker cover guys in the entire league, and he has not improved in that at all. So, yeah, he's a good run stuffer, and he's a good sack guy on the inside blitzes, but he's not at all a cover guy. So I'd keep him on the roster, but he's a fringe guy, man. He's not a starter to me. He only came in last year and started because guys got hurt, and he did make that one excellent play against the Ravens where he got that pick 6 on Lamar Jackson. But aside from that one coverage play, he's shown us no coverage in multiple years now. But I'd keep him at the number 3 spot. And then I'd keep Buddy Johnson, who was a draft pick. We have not seen Buddy much. I've seen a lot of guys trying to cut Buddy, surprisingly. But Buddy, I think, in camp and a couple of running back tackles has done enough. He's a fast linebacker. He can be on special teams. He can be valuable there. He can be good in the run game. And I think with his speed, he can be a good pass-catching guy. He got 1 deflection this preseason, and I think he can do more of that. Number 5 now, I'm keeping a controversial name here at inside linebacker, Marcus Allen. I initially was going to keep Marcus Allen as a backup safety because Marcus Allen has played safety. Marcus Allen is not a guy based on backup linebacker that I would keep on this roster. He was initially off my linebacker list, but then when I saw an extra spot opened up at safety, I was going to keep him there because he has positional flexibility. I like guys who can play multiple spots. He can play inside linebacker. He can fill in at corner if he absolutely has to at depth. He can play backup safety and play in the dime packages. He can play special teams. I like guys that can fill in multiple spots, and I like him better as a safety than I do as an inside linebacker, but we need an inside linebacker who can actually cover, and Marcus Allen can do that. So I wound up keeping Marcus Allen as the 5th inside linebacker. So I wound up keeping 10 linebackers. Usually the Steelers keep 9. Sometimes they go with 10, but I initially had 9, but I found a spot for Marcus Allen on this roster because he can play multiple spots. So I've got 10 linebackers. Cornerbacks, I've got 5. This one is pretty basic. Joe Hayden, James Pierre, Cam Sutton, Justin Lane, Arthur Mallett. Joe Hayden obviously is the number 1 guy on the outside. Right now they have Cam Sutton playing the 2, and I've heard them say they're going to keep Sutton on the other outside, and then once they go to sub packages, they would move Sutton to the inside and have Pierre on the outside. I'm going to go you one step better. I like that strategy, but I'm going to go one better. I would keep Hayden and Pierre as the 2 starting outside corners, and then bring Cam Sutton in for all the nickel and dime packages when you're covering inside, because Sutton's a very good, potentially elite inside cover corner, but outside, he's not very good. I would not risk him out there on the outside. He didn't look good in preseason against backups at times, playing the outside, So I would start Hayden and Pierre on the outside, and then use Sutton a lot for backup depth on the outside and for the starting inside slot at the number 3. So those 3 obviously are making the roster. And then Justin Lane, I have not been a big fan, but I think he made progression this preseason. I didn't like him in camp. I haven't liked him in previous years. I didn't like him when he came in to start last year. But we need another outside corner for depth, and Justin Lane does make special teams tackles. He's good on that. And I think he's made progress in coverage. He got a forced fumble this year in preseason. He got an interception in preseason. He got several pass deflections. He has not improved to the level that I would like him at by now to be a possible starter, but he has improved leaps and bounds this year from where he was previously. And again, if he can be a good backup piece and a special teamer, I think he can do some stuff. So Lane did enough this year. He was on my bubble coming in. I was not going to put him on this roster coming into the season, but he did enough in preseason to get that roster spot. And finally, Arthur Mallett, over from the Jets. He is a good backup nickel dime guy, a good slot backup behind Cam Sutton. I think he's going to wind up playing in sub packages. He's physical. He hasn't played too much. I think he had an injury at one point, but when he's been out there, I've liked him. He's a veteran guy. He started for the Jets for a while. He's physical coming up from his slot spot. He can tackle running backs. He can even play special teams as well. So I like Mallett filling in where Antoine Brooks was going to once Antoine Brooks was cut, which surprised me. But I think Mallett's a good 5th corner. Safeties, I'm keeping 4. Obviously, Minkah Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmonds are your starters. Your 2 backups I have are Trey Norwood, who moved over to safety from corner, which I think is the better move for him, and Miles Killebrew. I initially had Marcus Allen on this roster as the 4th safety because you got to have 4. But Marcus Allen got moved up to linebacker because we had a spot open. So with that, Miles Killebrew was a Pretty good special team guy, pretty good tackler on the running backs. His coverage is still not great, but I think as a blitzer coming out of the dime package, as a special team cover guy, I like him a lot in those spots. He's a veteran from Detroit, and he can cover a little bit. So I think Trey Norwood, who struggled at cornerback, but who can play a little bit at safety, who needs to work on his physicality and his angles. I didn't like some of what he did this preseason, but if he works on his physicality, his body, his angles, he could be a good backup, and so can Killebrew. And then special teams, my final three guys on the roster. Kicker Chris Boswell, obviously. Punter Presley Harvin, I think he wins that battle. I think he had a really good camp. I think both guys did. Overall, I think it was a good battle, a closer battle than some would have you believe. But I think Presley Harvin is our punter. Tomlin always goes with the younger, cheaper guy when it comes down to two good guys. So Presley Harvin at punter, and Cameron Canaday is our veteran long snapper. Even though I think he was injured in the third or fourth game, I hope he's okay. But as long as he's healthy, Cameron Canaday is our long snapper. So those are our 53. What do you guys think about those that I kept? Looking at some controversial spots, what do you think about keeping 3 running backs and cutting a Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels? Are we going to miss those guys? Did they do enough to impress you? Tight ends, would you start Freiermuth or Ebron? What do you think about that? Inside linebackers, do you keep Buddy Johnson and Marcus Allen there? Do you move Marcus Allen to safety? Do you cut Robert Spillane? What do you think about that? D-line, do you keep an Isaiah Buggs or a Carlos Davis? Who won that battle? Backup safety, what do you guys think about Edmund or Norwood or Killebrew? What do you guys think there? Are there any other controversial things? Offensive line, do you keep Joe Haig or do you keep Rashawn Coward? Do you start Dan Moore or do you start Chuck Okorafor? Tell me in the comments below if you like my roster, what I did to manipulate some positions, and who you would start. Tell me in the comments below what you think of that roster and if you're confident in that roster and what we're going to do this season. I will do a full schedule game-by-game prediction and record breakdown next week, so you'll get my full Steelers 2021 record prediction and schedule breakdown. Tell me in the comments below what you think of this roster, and let's talk Steelers. I'll see you guys soon.